Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Good question. Hey guys, my name's Connor. If you're new, I like to learn about things usually. Original link to the video top of the description from History Matters. Preemptive like. Why didn't Germany annex more of France in 1871? So, I know that the Franco-Prussian War was a kind of culmination of large efforts, mainly by Bismarck, to create a unified Germany, right? And so maybe he had accomplished his main goals in the war, and maybe pushing your luck too much could threaten your original goal. That's my best guess, but I truly don't know. So let's learn. Let's go, guys.
When Prussia and its German allies defeated France in 1871, the unified Germany annexed the lands of Alsace-Lorraine. This came in the wake of an utterly humiliated French military and a captured emperor, which all but destroyed France's ability to resist. Which raises the question, why didn't Prussia demand...
He was captured? See, I've learned about the Franco-Prussian War before, and I've definitely should know by now, and I'm sure I've heard that he was captured, but my brain, I need redundancy in learning about topics. So, all right, he was captured. Okay.
This came in the wake of an utterly humiliated French military and a captured emperor, which all but destroyed France's ability to resist. Which raises the question, why didn't Prussia demand more from the French and annex more land? So, in order to understand why Prussia stopped at taking this, you need to know how the war started. At the start of the war, Prussia was politically led by Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, who, along with his monarch, desired a strong, unified Germany. He knew that the rise of Prussia made the other great powers nervous and so had to tread carefully when it came to expanding further. An opportunity presented itself in 1870 when the empty Spanish throne was offered to Prince Leopold of the House of Hohenzollern, Prussia's royal dynasty. The French were afraid of a Prussian-Spanish alliance and so demanded that he reject it, which he very quickly did.
Interesting, because I've heard that, I've seen a video of, I think it was a video, or there's definitely a video. I usually learn my stuff from videos. That the reason that there were so many that it was so enticing for a lot of the large powers like Spain and Austria and the UK and France for getting German princes or princesses to marry into their royal families is because it was very ununified, and so it didn't pose as much of a risk than as if, you know, say there was a British prince that needed to marry, or king, or to be king that needed to marry a princess, then picking a French one was a little risky, and vice versa. And so I think that's the reason why so many German suitors were chosen by these large monarchies. But now that Germany is now becoming a single state, now that doesn't seem so promising anymore, or like a good idea anymore.
The French were afraid of...
I took way too long to say that.
...was offered to Prince Leopold of the House of Hohenzollern, Prussia's royal dynasty. The French were afraid of a Prussian-Spanish alliance and so demanded that he reject it, which he very quickly did and was always going to do. The French then demanded that the Prussian King Wilhelm agree to never allow anyone in his family to consider ruling Spain again, which he declined. Bismarck then published a heavily edited account of this meeting, which made it look like France demanded control of all affairs affecting German royals or threatened war, and that in response, Wilhelm casually dismissed them and insulted their ambassador. This was read as a major insult by the French people, and because this was the 19th century, war. As you'll know...
Obviously, this is oversimplified version, right? History Matters, very, very short videos. But there's a funny kind of interception of some notary between these people, and stuff was changed to make it sound more offensive than it was at first, in order to like make a war happen.
It's a major insult by the French people, and because this was the 19th century, war. As you'll know, the French performed poorly and Emperor Napoleon III was captured after the Battle of Sedan.
Okay.
With the emperor in captivity and France's army defeated, Prussia's victory seemed assured. The issue was that there was now a new Republican government, and it was one that was fairly extreme in its anti-Prussian sentiment. Despite an ongoing revolution in Paris, the new government refused to yield any land and didn't want to pay much money to Prussia, which, as you'll guess, was confusing to the Prussians because they thought they'd already won. So the defeat of France had led to the unification of Germany, and the new German Empire wanted out of France very quickly. And there were two main reasons for this. The first was that the longer that the war dragged on, the more likely it was that another great power would join the war on the side of France. And the second reason was that occupying a country is expensive, and the parts of France that weren't occupied were still mobilizing. So why was it then that Germany only annexed Alsace-Lorraine? Well, again, Bismarck was concerned about other great powers joining the war, and taking too much of France would have been seen as the new Germany becoming too powerful too quickly, which could lead to the British, the Russians and the Austrians getting involved, which wasn't a good thing. Furthermore, the point of the war was the nominal protection of German sovereignty, and thus annexing lands that were overwhelmingly French would have betrayed that cause. And also, Germany's demands were actually seen as being extremely harsh by other nations. Alsace-Lorraine was maybe acceptable, but even Bismarck believed that taking it would likely guarantee a future war with France. He wasn't wrong. Another factor was the indemnity that France agreed to pay. The agreed price was about a quarter of the French annual budget, and until it was paid, the Germans would occupy this land. For Bismarck and Wilhelm, this was enough, because they thought it would take France 5 years to pay it off and would cripple France's finances for the next 30 years. And whilst they were paying it, Germany could keep a very close eye on Paris. The French agreed to pay such a large amount because getting German soldiers out of France was important. The debt was soon paid off in 1873, and so with that, instead of crippling France for decades, Germany had in fact just made a fierce rival, one which wanted its lands back. Thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bisonet.
Interesting. Great video as always. I also forgot, I guess, or just never learned, that they controlled this giant amount of area in northern France, northwestern France, obviously including Paris, until they paid off their debts. I didn't know that. And so I guess like the reason I guessed in the beginning of the video was sort of correct in the
it would likely guaranteed by other nations.
It wasn't. I was wrong on the main things.
That cause, and also sovereignty.
But that, you know, it wasn't a great prediction, but that taking too much land could make it seem like it's less of you're trying to just create a protected, unified Germany with German peoples, and then you take a place that's largely French-speaking and French culturally could jeopardize that, you know. But it seems like the major reasons were not to bring in other countries into the fray. So, and again, it's so crazy how the mid to late 1800s, just how quickly Prussia to Germany went. Not to say that Prussia was a weak power, but that it went to a German state that was incredibly powerful, and that they had to worry, or other countries had to worry, that they would get too powerful too quickly, which is very interesting. I do sort of want to... I love the little funny like notes and stuff, but it does, with such a short video, it makes me pause a lot, and then I have to rewind to get back into the rhythm. But I do miss sometimes a thing that 100% actually happened.
Again, which he declined, that the Prussian King Wilhelm agreed to never allow anyone in his family to consider ruling Spain again, which he declined, demanded that he reject it, which he very quickly...
Hold on, yeah, I'm sort of confused about this part.
...to tread carefully when it came to expanding further. An opportunity presented itself in 1870 when the empty Spanish throne was offered to Prince Leopold of the House of Hohenzollern, Prussia's royal dynasty. The French were afraid of a Prussian-Spanish alliance and so demanded that he reject it, which he very quickly did and was always going to do. The French then demanded that the Prussian King Wilhelm agree to never allow anyone in his family to consider ruling Spain again, which he declined.
So a Hohenzollern heir did take up the throne in Spain after France asked them not to, and then after he did, they did take monarchy in Spain. Then they said, then the French just said okay, but never again.
Bismarck then published a heavily edited account of this meeting, which made it look like France demanded control of all affairs affecting German royals.
Bismarck was such a genius. I would very much... I don't know nearly enough as I want to, solidified knowledge of the the Bismarckian diplomacy. I'm kind of making that up, but I guess that makes sense. Of just all the little things with Schleswig-Holstein and Austria, that Austria wanting to be, the big guy controlling the German peoples, and Prussia also wanting to do that, and the maneuvers from the bringing Austria into the Schleswig-Holstein conflict, and then going to Vienna and capturing Vienna pretty quickly, I believe they did, and then all of the little things they did to make it communications with French ambassadors seem more disrespectful than it was. All of these little things were just strokes of diplomatic genius, I think. But a lot of you guys know much more about this stuff than I do. Love y'all. Would appreciate any comments down below. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning. Bye, guys.